Good afternoon, everybody. Tom Stewart here. Our guest today is Petti-Servis, and this is Smart Business Moves. Hello, Tina. How are you today?
Hey, good, Tom. How are you?
I'm doing awesome.
Awesome.
What are we, a week away from Thanksgiving? A week and a day, maybe?
It's getting closer. Yes. Hard to believe.
It is really, and then I guess Christmas is going to be here, although I see a lot of people, towns and stores and so forth are putting their Christmas stuff up before Halloween.
I know.
There ought to be a law.
I just
But
like being in Florida. No snow.
yeah, yeah, that's awesome. So, do you live around? What part of Florida do you live in?
So I live in Orlando.
Okay,
Yep.
but you haven't always lived in Orlando.
No, I come from New York, Rochester, New York, the land of snow.
And of
But
snow.
yeah, so from Rochester, and then I moved to Orlando. It'll be 2 years in March of next year.
Okay, our friend
Yep,
Mike Callahan lives up in that part of New York, doesn't he?
he does. He does. Actually, he's a client of ours. Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
that's interesting. So you live in Orlando, but you have a client that lives in Rochester, New York. How does that work?
Well, you definitely have to have the right people in place to make sure they're operating the business for you. And I'll share a little background about it. I during COVID, one of the first things I did is I ended up hiring a remote salesperson to, help me out and stuff with the business because I was just getting to the point where it was becoming too much. And then I think it was early last year, I decided to bring on a second person to basically replace me. So my one person lives in Rochester, the other one lives in Columbia, South America, and the two of them together operate my cleaning business. So I have a location in Rochester and one in Buffalo, New York.
So to fill in the blanks a little bit, you are a cleaning business owner. How long have you been in the residential cleaning space?
Yep. So I started the cleaning business Made for Time in 2008. I
Okay.
grew it right up until 2016. I decided to sell it. I did a 2-year non-compete in 2018. I restarted the business, and then so been back in existence since 2018
Okay, and that was in Rochester. And you opened a second branch in Buffalo?
in Buffalo. Yep.
Okay, when did you do that?
I'm sorry. When did I do that?
Yeah.
Let's see. So it was right after COVID. So it must have been 2020. We opened it up.
Okay, right after COVID started. That was good timing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, because right, there were so many companies that had gone out of business.
Right.
Demand was really high, and we were lucky enough to have good employees that wanted to help out. So, we were able to get the staff on to do the cleanings for us and expand to that market.
And you've made the transition. When did you move to Orlando?
I moved here in March of last year,
Okay.
2021.
And since that time, you figured out how to transition from being working remotely in your two branch business to just being a remote owner in a two branch business.
Yes. Yeah. If I spend about an hour a week in the maid service, I would say it's about an hour a week in the maid service, and I'll tell you why, Tom. Actually, um, the software that we use is amazing, right? So I can
Oh,
see. Hi,
oh,
Liz.
come on, get out of here.
No, I'm telling you, I can see all of my information that I need. Oh, let me see if I can adjust this camera here.
Yep.
I can see. Let me see. There we go. I'm centered. Um, so I can see all the information that I need using my software, Made Central. And
Hey, Liz, good to see you. You got here just in time for Tina to tell you how awesome May Central is.
What? Make Central? That
I,
old software company? What?
I know, but it gives me everything I need. If I need to know revenue production planning, if I need to know how much I got in accounts receivable, if I need to know who hasn't been invoiced, how much, what's going on, how much payroll is going to be. It's right there in front of me.
No, it's totally true. I know. I
It's amazing.
I'm sure that anybody that's using it would agree that it's the superior program. But let's not get Tom's head too fat,
No,
okay?
no, we don't need to. But what we were talking about, Liz, just to kind of bring you up to speed
Thanks.
since you weren't here on time,
Thank you.
is that Tina was telling us, how she kind of got started in industry and took a sabbatical and then came back in 2018 and decided that she really wanted to live in Orlando. And she opened a second branch in Buffalo along the way. And since moving to Orlando in 2021, she's figured out how to be a remote owner operator to just a remote owner. And it's kind of like owning stock in Apple. She owns it, but really doesn't work in it, which is kind of the holy grail. I think
Yeah.
that's where we would all want to be, right?
Oh, totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah. And so what I'm guessing that Tom, you wanted to give me that recap so that you could say, and that's why she loves Made Central.
Central. Well, actually, she was saying she couldn't have done it without Made Central.
I couldn't do it without it.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Yeah. I know we like to joke around about it, but I understand what you're saying, Tina. I can completely see how it makes it doable.
So
For sure.
I have this weird reflection in my glasses today.
Yeah. It's like
Sorry.
your monitor or a light. I can't tell which. It's like you're a robot.
Yeah.
Are you really Liz? Or are you like a robotic clone?
Liz sent me here because she was running late.
Yeah, that's because
There, you just sit still.
the real Liz is like tied up in a closet somewhere,
Yeah.
like an alien.
Yeah. Sorry to keep you waiting there, Tina.
No, it's no
Not
worries.
sorry for you. Sorry to Tina.
So, the other part of the equation too. I imagine there's several parts. Tina was talking about how she built a team, and she's got a management staff in place that she's put together, and I guess some of it resides locally in New York, and part of your team is in South America, if I heard that right.
Yep. My salesperson is in Colombia, South America. Yep.
Boy, we sure hear a lot about that these days. How long did it take you to find your salesperson in Colombia, Tina?
So I would say altogether, by the time I found her, interviewed her, brought her on, it was probably 3 to 4 weeks.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
No. Laura's been with me since 2020, and I believe, or 2019, I can't remember, to be honest. But not saying anything about American workers or anything, but what I've realized about her is, she's a hard worker, they're dedicated, they want to do a good job. I pay her very well. So initially the whole idea behind it was, let me bring on somebody that is affordable, right? And then as she went through and proved herself, how much can I really pay for freedom, right? So yeah. And she, I'm providing her with a very good living as well. So
well, standard of living over there is quite a bit less too, isn't it?
yes.
So if you're paying good money for here, over there, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Maybe we should all move to Colombia. Do you ever think about that?
I do believe that's part of why Maria moved over to Spain, is because cost of living is so amazing. Right?
I think that is part of the strategy.
Yeah, definitely a big piece. Money goes a lot further.
It does.
Sure.
Yeah. And she's been able to get her own house. She's been able to buy a car. So all this stuff, she never had any of that, until she started working with me. And now she has all these great things that,
Yeah.
But she's learned how to speak Spanish.
She speaks both. Actually, her dad worked for the U.S. Embassy or here in the D.C. So she spent a little bit of time, her childhood, in the D.C. area, but she is particular to Colombia. So she moved back there and said, I don't like America.
Okay.
So
Usually you don't hear a lot of that. Oh, hey, Michelle. Have you guys talked about at all about what Tina's doing new these days?
No, we haven't got to that part yet. We were just kind of building up to basically she got rid of her day job and had a lot of extra time on her hands. So, what do you
That
do with all that extra time, Tina?
you create software companies.
That's fun, isn't it?
No, you do. Not everybody does. Well, actually, you and Tom both, right?
Right. You get bored and you're like, what am I going to do? I don't know. And honestly, is what happened. I mean, I found myself going, what am I going to do all day? Right. Because literally these two ladies are running my maid service business. And I mean, we all know the grind of the maid service and making sure that it's successful and, paying the bills and all of that stuff. I sat around and said, what am I going to do? And the God's honest truth is I am single and I date, and typically every time before I go out with someone, I'll do a quick little Google search and see what I can find on that person. And I ended up finding um, this person that I wanted to go out with had credit card fraud and identity theft. And I thought, whoa, thank God I didn't go out with him, right?
Yeah.
But then I started thinking, like, why aren't more people doing this, right? Why isn't there more companies out there? And the more I research, the more I realize that there are services out there. You've probably heard of like Ben Verified and Truth Finder, maybe not because you guys don't do online dating, but for those of us who do, it is out there. And so I started doing more research. If I'm not anything, I'm a research geek, and I just started digging more and more, and I realized that um, there isn't any software out there that does it, but I know that public records is public records, right? So this is where that information comes from. If you guys don't know, anytime you get arrested or a transaction happens that's considered public records, like you buy a house or start a business, it gets recorded into public records, and that access falls under Freedom of Information Act, and it's accessible to anybody, right? The key is, how do you get accessibility through all of the states, right? So I decided to create a software that would pull this information all together so that if somebody were to go out on a date, they could do this quick background check and find out if the person had a criminal or sex offender background check. Well, what I realized while I was creating it is, why would dating companies like Match.com or whomever want to sell my software to their end user, right? Because it kind of is like, hey, we want you to use our online dating service, but be careful because this person might have, right, a criminal history.
Right.
So I thought, maybe I don't want to do that. So then I started digging more, and you guys know that my background was in HR. So I started doing more statistics search through Bureau of Labor and Statistics to find out, like, where does workplace violence happen, right? Where is the most amount of workplace violence happening in America? And I realized that it's in the home services industry. That includes home health care. Unfortunately, there's not enough numbers for like construction workers, maid service workers. Those numbers just don't show up in the stats. But where it does show up is in healthcare. And most companies are very familiar with employment background checks, right? So when we bring on a new employee, we're going to do an employment background check to make sure they're safe, because we have a duty under OSHA to keep our employees safe. So we're going to do that background check for them, but they're not used to kind of turning it around, flipping it on its head, and doing a background check on the person that we're going to see in their home, right? So we know from COVID that there's more people working at home. We know from COVID that there's more people getting services in home, right? Whether it's walking your dog, getting your groceries delivered, whether you're doing Uber or any of those things, more people are getting services done in home. Now your chances of some type of attack happening is going to be on the rise. So I created the software. We primarily target healthcare and realtors, but we also can work in any home service industry. So you can do Instacart, you can do Rover, which is the dog walking company, but anybody who sees clients in their home can use our software to do a background check.
All right, so let me make sure I understand. So I could sign up for your service because I know that I'm going to have service people in my house, or I'm going to take an Uber. I'm going to have the people that deliver food. I can't remember what they're called.
Yep,
Come
Instacart.
deliver me coffee anyway. And so how would I get their information? How would I get the information? Not like their name.
So I'm going to turn it just a little bit, Liz, for you. So let's hypothetically think that you own a cleaning company, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Hypothetical.
Yeah.
And then let's hypothetically think that you have clients coming in, right? And this person's name is John Smith. And John's address is 123 Anywhere Street. So in my software, you can type in John Smith with his address and his phone number, and then you can pull the public record information to see if he has a criminal or sex offender background check.
Ah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I could feel good sending my employees who are now solo, right?
Correct.
When they were teams, it wasn't as big of a deal, but now how many companies have gone to the solo model because of COVID and everything else? So
and it's the most efficient way to operate your business, right, as a solo. And what's interesting is during this whole thing and creating the software is what I've realized is so there's a new term out there. It's no longer solo. It's called lone worker. Your lone worker.
Okay.
And
that sounds so much worse.
Yeah.
I know, doesn't it? It's almost like I'd rather say solo, but the new term out there is lone worker. But what I'm finding more and more is that there's more industries that are taking on this proactive and reactive strategies to minimize their risk of workplace violence. And by workplace violence, I'm doing a global coverage, right? I mean, it could be somebody pulled my hair to somebody really got raped, from their patient or client or whatever, whomever that person might be. But there's now legislation in hotels, right? I don't know the number of states, but there's probably 10. And it's not always states, it's like different municipalities too. Like I know in Miami-Dade County, if you own any type of hotel there, you have to have a panic button. So every employee there has to have a panic button on that person so that if the maid goes into the room of the guest and that guest does something, they can push this button and it's going to geolocate them. So they have that reactive piece, right? So we're doing more the proactive piece. So Client Guard software, the name of the software that I started, is partnering with these other organizations to be able to do a twofold, right? So you're going to stay at a hotel. I got your driver's license. We're going to do a quick background check on you. We got the proactive piece down, and then the reactive piece is if something happens, they can press a button. Yeah.
All right. So I love that. I get all that. So what happens? You get, so let's say I run a background check on John Smith, right? And comes back, oh, not good. What exactly do I see? Do I just see like simple assault, or do I see, because I'm thinking that a lot of people have things on or might have things on their criminal background that I might not want to disqualify them from being a client. But does it give you specifics?
It does. And I can pull it up as well. Let me just go see if I can grab this, and I can actually show you.
Awesome.
Yeah,
But
cool.
It shows you what that court has put in. Okay. So without getting too deep into all of that, and I'm just going to type this in, make sure I know my developer was doing some work earlier, so I want to make sure I can get it to work.
And while you're doing that, I'm going to drop the URL to your website. It's clientguardinc.com.
Yep.
I know when you were trying to think of a name that you weren't coming up with a lot of good stuff, but I love what you landed on. I think
You
it's,
like Client Guard?
yeah, I
Thank
like
you.
it a lot. Yeah, really
Thank you.
good.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna share this with you guys. All right, can you see this screen over here?
Not yet.
Okay.
Tom can make it come. There it is. Like that
So,
coloring.
huh?
I like that branding.
I wonder why. I stuck with the red, white, and blue, right? So what I did, and I can jump back out, but to answer your question, yes. So I typed in this person's name, Gerald Palermo.
Okay.
And when I'm done going through this, I can jump back out and show you how I actually pulled this information. But here's the description right here. So this person has consumption of alcoholic beverages on vendor premises,
Okay.
right? And then this disposition tells you what happened with it, adjudication withheld.
Okay.
That's
pretty specific, right?
It is. Yeah. Yeah. So this one is battery, domestic battery. It tells you the source is coming from Florida, tells you the offense date, and again, the disposition. If there's any descriptive information, it's going to be here under, hair height, scars, skin tone, etc.
Yeah.
Same thing with a photo. Yep. But what I wanted to show you is the reason I brought this person up is because this person is actually a sexual offender. So he's registered in the sex offender registry. And one of the things I hear a lot is, oh, my person is so old, they would never, right?
Yeah.
It's so crazy to me, like how often I hear that. You can see that this gentleman was born in 1935. The offense happened in 2003. Here it gives you his descriptive factors. He's got gray hair. He weighs 177 pounds. And here's his photo.
He's an old guy.
He's an old guy.
He's even older than you.
I'm not going to touch it.
Come on.
But at least I said he does look older than you, Tom. Come on now.
That's true.
That was nice. Yeah. Okay. So I can see that this would be definitely useful, right? To be able to see this.
Yeah.
Gosh, I wonder. So tell me a little bit about this, Tina. So obviously you're using this in your company. How often are you finding something on someone's background that makes you go, eh?
So you don't find as much as you think you would, right?
Oh, good. I love that. That's the best answer. Thank you.
That's the good news, right?
Yeah.
But when you find it, you go, oh,
yeah,
right? But some of it is like interesting stuff, right? Some of it is just like, it's just public record information. Maybe somebody was driving with no driver's license and it showed up, right?
Yeah.
So some of it is just non-useful information.
Yeah.
But I feel like in our industry, in the maid service industry, I mean, healthcare is a little bit different, but any type of home service, you really want to know, like, do they have battery? Do they have sex offense? Do they have any type of like
anything physical? I want to know
anything physical. And the other thing about this data is that it pulls all of this information. So it pulls criminal, sex, arrest, warrant, most wanted, and patriot list. So
I can choose also. So if I don't want to see all of that, so I'm thinking I might want to only see like criminal, sex offenders, and most wanted. Is that like the most wanted list?
It is.
Okay, yeah. And that one, I might not want to see all of that, only because I don't want to feel influenced by things that I shouldn't feel influenced by. You know what I mean? There's an arrest for something. If it's not criminal, it's not a sex offender, it's not the most wanted list.
Right. You have a good point, but I didn't know this until I created the softwares. I didn't know there's a difference between arrest and criminal. So an arrest is, I could be arrested 10 times for domestic battery, but never convicted.
Right.
for whatever reason. Maybe
Yeah.
my attorney is really good and I just keep paying him to delay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
And then the Patriot is a little crazy, right? So
Yeah, what's Patriot?
so Patriot is terrorist. So is your person on a terrorist list, right? So I know.
Yikes. All right.
So you may not find criminal and arrest, but you might find that he's a terrorist or she's a terrorist,
Or
right?
at least on the list.
Or on a list,
Yeah.
right?
Damn.
And once you find that information, now you have a duty, right? Now you have an obligation to report it because you found that person.
Yeah.
But I just hit all, right? Because I just do them all.
Yeah.
But I want to show you
You're
how.
not finding a lot. So I guess that sort of says it's okay to hit all. You don't have to worry that every third person is going to have something. And now I have to make a judgment call. Is this thing okay? Is this thing not that bad? You know,
Right. Right. And it is good that you find less than more, right? It's kind of like makes you feel like better about America.
So all of these categories, I guess, are kind of on the criminal side. Do you? I mean, I guess you could you pull information from the civil side, to find out, you know, do they have a habit of suing their home service providers? Do they have they been sued because they don't pay their bills, stuff like that?
So we have another portion that we are working on right now for real estate agents, and we call it asset information. So it's going to show if this person has bankruptcy, lien, judgment. It's going to show any assets that they own, if they have a federal ID number, if they have a DBA. It will tell you if they have a pilot license, if they have a gun license.
military background. So anything that is government. Okay.
Yep, anything that's under freedom of information or public records. So we're working on that more for the real estate agents, because you can imagine if I'm selling my house and I have, 10 liens, and my, real estate agent wants to make sure I can, sell the house and pay off those liens with the proceeds. I want to know that ahead of time before title gets to it, right?
Sure.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
But you can also use it in our industry, in the maid service. You can also use it in home health care, because some of those clients are private duty, right? So if they're paying out of their own pocket, we want to know how many liens, judgments, bankruptcies do you have, and do we need to do like a deposit or whatever, right?
Do I want to get paid up front?
Right, exactly. Yeah, because none of us have ever not been paid by our clients. Right? So I'll just show you this real quick, just to show you how fast the information comes back. But this person, Roger Carson, I put his date of birth in here, and then I can talk to you a little bit more about data points as well.
It feels so weird that you're doing this, right? Because we're so I feel like it's so ingrained in me. Anytime I'm putting anybody's name anywhere, like on the computer, you cross it out. You don't let anybody see a name. And not only are we showing a name, we're showing some like heavy stuff. But I mean, it is that it's part of the public record. It just feels so strange.
It feels invasive.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know. And so there's a couple, I agree with you. It does feel invasive, but man, if I'm going to date somebody, I want to know this.
Yeah.
Right? Or if I'm going to.
If I'm actually, if I'm sending a 21-year-old young gal into a home, I'd kind of like to know if there's something scary on somebody's record. I just, not knowing gives me a false sense of security,
Right.
that I know it's a false sense of security. Every once in a while, I think about it, and then I'm like, well, no options, but option.
Right. Right. But yes, it does feel a little invasive. And this is so the interesting part about this, Liz, is that everybody's familiar with employment background, right?
Yeah.
And I'll be clear, the date where employment background companies, where they're pulling their data from, I'm pulling my data from the same exact
In
place.
place.
Right? It's just they fall under FCRA or Fair Credit Reporting. So we can pull this information because we're not renting, we're not insuring, and we're not employing the person. So my software cannot be used for those three things: renting, insuring, or employing.
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
Yeah, because otherwise,
Put your employees through here.
no, you cannot put your
You still
employees.
have to do a background check on your employees.
Correct.
All right.
You need their permission if you're pulling this information for those three use cases.
That is correct. Yep.
But if you're checking out a person you have a date with this Saturday, you don't need their permission. You can
Right.
do all the research you want.
Yeah.
This just makes it easy.
This makes it easier. Yeah. Because here's what I learned through the process as well. So I'll keep going back to employment backgrounds because we're so familiar with it. So let's say I want to hire this Roger Carson, right?
Yeah.
And Roger now lives in Orange County, Florida, which is where I'm located, right?
Yeah.
So I would know this because I'm just a research geek, right? I would know to go into my local public records, Orange County, Florida, and go type in his name. I know that there's public records there, and I can pull up if he has any records in Orange County, Florida. So the question is, you know how we fill out the what's your last 10 years of addresses on the employment background form? I don't even know if it's 10 years anymore. Maybe it's 7.
I don't think it is, but yeah.
So they need to know where else you lived, hypothetically, so they can confirm that that's you, right?
Right.
So they need to know if Roger is here in Orange County, but he used to live in South Carolina. First of all, how am I going to know that, right? I'm not. And I'm not even going to know where to go and look. So if he committed a crime in South Carolina, but now he lives in Orange County, I'm not going to know the difference.
You would have no idea. Yeah.
He's going to show up as, clean as a whistle.
Yeah.
So this software, Client Guard software, pulls data from all 50 states, including Puerto Rico and DC. So we can capture anybody in the U.S. We have 99% of the nation's criminal information.
Wow.
So the national database.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in this case, this guy was doing something fraudulent with credit cards in Orangeburg, South Carolina.
This is the guy I wanted to date, Tom.
Yeah.
$500 or less. Simple larceny, not guilty, bench trial.
Yeah.
All right. So what do? You got not guilty.
Right. So he was found not guilty.
So did you date him then since he was found not guilty?
Nope. Ran.
That's what I'm wondering about, right? That's where I'm like.
And do you say, well, I went to Client Guard software and pulled your background check, and I mean, or you just kind of?
I told him I did a background check on him.
Okay.
Yeah, they usually don't like it when you say that. So you should, people
So
don't
maybe say that up front. Hey, I'm gonna pull a background check on you. Do you still want to go out?
Right.
I save yourself the time, the money, the energy.
Yeah. And another, like my daughter does dog walking through Rover. Have you guys heard of Rover?
Yeah.
So of course I did the background check on my daughter, right?
Yeah.
So she'll call me up and go, hey, I'm going to take care of this family's dog. Can you do a quick background check on them for me? Right. So I want to know, is she safe?
Where's your baby girl going?
Right. She's going to somebody's house. I have no idea what the address is, where she's going, how long she's going to be taking care of this family's pets. I just want to know that she's, I've done my due diligence. I've done my proactive piece to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. This is cool that you actually put this whole thing together, Tina. And man, I see that you put, I know you were like, some amazing idea, got to figure out how to do it. It seems like that was such a short time ago. Like, I don't know how you've
Wow.
done all this in such a short amount of time. I guess that's the whole not having a job thing. Right?
Right. I haven't really had a job, so
Yeah.
I've had to get a job, and this is what it is. So yeah, we've been going out to trade shows and everything, and just trying to get. As soon as we tell people that it's not an employment background check, it's for the patient or the client, they
Yeah.
get it. They're like, oh, and most of the people, sadly, in healthcare, most of the people that get it are the ones that have had some type of attack, right?
Mhm.
So either I know.
Yeah.
So the statistics in healthcare is like 80%. Like if you're in healthcare, you have an 80% chance of having some type of attack done from a patient, which is crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
And and I guess home health, and there's so many different variations of that. That's huge industry, and it's just getting bigger, isn't it?
It's growing like crazy. I mean, the hospitals want to keep the patients out of the hospital and keep them in home, and a lot of people want to have services done in their home. I mean, you're more comfortable there. You heal better at home.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just COVID changed what we know, right? I mean, more people are working from home, there's so many in-home services that are happening. I mean, with the maid service and home health care, I mean, we all know that there's not enough people, right? There's not enough people to get out there. So this is just one other little tool that you could use for recruitment and retention. Hey, so our healthcare companies, if they're going to work for one of three companies and they all offer the same benefits, the same pay, same job, the only difference is one company does a background check on their patients or their clients and another one doesn't. It's just a different little value add that these other companies are adding to say, we care about you, we want to protect you.
Yeah.
We're going to be proactive and make sure that if the person so I think I started talking about legal stuff earlier, right? So I started going down that path and I forgot
Yeah.
where I was going with it, but I remember now is that so from a legal standpoint, because it's public information and it's Freedom of Information Act, if you run a background check on someone, nobody has to be notified, right? So it's just like doing a Google search on Roger Carson. I don't have to notify Roger that I'm doing this. It's public information. And
So,
then
oh yeah, keep going. Sorry.
Yep. And then let's say I did find something on Roger Carson.
Yeah.
Let's say it's domestic or rape in the third or whatever. Maybe it's something more severe, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So then the question comes down to, do I have to service Roger Carson, right? Or can I decline services? So let's do the hypothetical. It's a maid service. Well, you can decline service to anyone for any reason, with the exception of Title VII, right? So Title VII is just the protection under the government with relation to age, creed, sexual orientation, that type of stuff. So you can't say no to Roger Carson because he's a male.
Yeah.
Right, right. But you can say no to Roger Carson because he has domestic violence and you just don't want to service him.
Okay.
So you can say no.
But you don't have to tell him that that's why.
No, you don't have to tell him anything.
Right? You could just say thanks, but no thanks. You don't have to say your background check. You don't have to say anything.
Right. That's correct. Yeah.
So
How's that conversation go, though? I'm curious, Tina. So you've had at least a couple of these, I'm assuming.
So we tend to tell a white lie, right?
Mhm.
And you just say, I'm sorry, we're not servicing that area any longer, or, we don't have enough staff to service that area, or, that's basically it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering the pros and cons of being transparent with this, like up front, like on your website. Part of our standard process is we run a background check on everybody. Before somebody works here, we do a background check, or before we provide service to a new client, we do a background check, and in the best interest of all parties. And you know, I'm wondering from a doing would you mentioned it as a recruiting tool. I'm not necessarily a recruiting tool, but as a way to create more value for your workforce. If they knew that up front, would that make you a more attractive employer? And even from a consumer standpoint, would I say, yeah, I want to get service from a company that cares enough about their employees that they would take that step and they can run a background check on me because, you know, maybe I have a speeding ticket or two, but well, so what?
It's funny you mentioned that, Tom, because when I first launched the business, I have about 9,000 names on my email list for my maid service company. And I did an email blast out to them saying that I started this background company. And one of my clients wrote back and said, oh, okay, do you need to do the background check on me? Like, what information do you need from me? And I was surprised, right? Because I thought it was going to come back of like,
Yeah.
the feeling invasive or whatever. But no, she was like, okay, what information do you need from me? And to your point, I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing, right? I mean, it's public records for a reason. I mean, it's there.
I do think some people, even though it's public records, they don't want people to know. Even if it's something mild, I think that some people would not want you to know that they had 5 speeding tickets that they haven't paid yet.
Right.
Some people might not, but some other people would find a heightened sense of security. It's like, wow, I trust these guys. I even have a higher level of trust in this company now for doing that. And all that your imagination can go on in terms of, they'll never steal anything and they probably have really good procedures and they're going to do awesome work. I'm really more excited about doing business with them because they are that thorough, that rigorous.
They're
Right.
actually going so far above and beyond.
Yeah. I would be excited. I'd say, heck yeah, do a background check on me. I love the idea, and I know that you're going to take good care of me. I would see it as a plus.
Right.
But I'm weird, so
But you're a high C, Tom, and I do believe that a lot of the high Cs, I love this idea for the high C customer because the high C customer is not comfortable having people in the house and random people in the house, but bringing in this additional level of security, I can really see how that would give that high C customer a feeling of they go above and beyond. They're doing a lot more than they have to do. This is the company.
Because being the high C person, you're skeptical, and it's like, yeah, everybody says it, but who's actually doing it? And is it real or not? But taking it to this level is like, whoa, this is serious, and everything else seems a lot more real if you're taking it this far.
Yeah. And I think, for me, from a personal level, I just want to make sure I'm doing everything I can to keep my people safe, right? I mean, we all remember when we first started our cleaning businesses, going into people's homes and having that just little bit of an uncomfortable feeling of not knowing, where are we going? Whose house are we going into? Do I have to go out down into the basement, right?
And we still to this day have to tell every single person that works for us, hey, if you just get a bad feeling, it's okay to just not go in, right? It's okay. You just get a bad feeling. That's good enough. And because we've all been in that situation too, when we're going out and doing, back in the day, in-home estimates. I remember one house, I didn't go. I got there and I was like, yeah, I'm not going in there. And I called Tim and said, yeah, I don't want to go in there. He's like, do not go in there. Make an excuse and I'll go back with you tomorrow if you really feel like. I was like, I just don't want to clean here ever. I just don't like it. Ugh.
It's so funny because back when I first started my cleaning business, 2008, I mean, it may have been like,
right. Yep.
2009. I remember this is when people really weren't working from home yet. Everybody still kind of had the brick and mortar, which probably a lot of people do. I might just be that anomaly out there that doesn't have the brick and mortar. But I remember saying to the lady, the cleaner that was coming to my house to interview, I said, listen, here's my address. If you want to tell your husband like where I live, I want you to know I live in a raised ranch. So it you know, it's partially like underground, but I mean, I was like, I know there's nothing wrong with me,
Yeah.
but I wanted her to make sure that she could tell her family members that she was safe and going to be okay. You
Yeah.
know, this is where you're going. If he wants to drive you here, he's more than welcome to come in or whatever. And it's, I mean, you just never know, right?
I really, really, really like the idea that the people that are going to be attracted to your business also are more of the people that you want to work for, that you feel more comfortable sending people out to. If anybody doesn't like it, somebody says something along the lines of, yeah, I really hate this. This is terrible. It's discrimination, you know, all the different things that they say. I would rather get the high C client that's nervous Nelly instead of you. Like, I feel safer with the nervous Nelly than I do with you.
Because you just never know.
You don't.
That could be a tagline for this. Why do you want to do this? Because you just never know.
You just never know.
Yeah,
you never know.
That's great, Tina. That's a great tagline right there. You need to use that.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job, Tom. That's good.
Right now, it's no before you go.
Nobody's expecting royalties.
No, we're good. Benj is joining us. I haven't seen Benja in ages. Good to see you.
Since before she had that baby who is no longer a baby. Look at that, Tom.
Yeah.
That's how long it has been since we've seen her.
It's been a minute, hasn't
That's
it?
Crazy. Yeah. Hey, Benja, good to see you. Gary's here too.
Gary rocks.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think this is kind of amazing. You've done a really great job here, Tina. I can see so many different ways of using it, and also not ways of using it so much as ways of using it as a benefit to our companies. I wonder too.
It would be interesting to do some focus groups maybe, or just try to informal surveys. I'm thinking that a meaningful number of consumers on the residential cleaning side would see more value in the company. If I'm looking at 3 different companies and one of them does this, that might be a big plus.
Yeah. Pushes over to the other side there. You know, I'm wondering too so my daughter has through her company, they have a lot of safety data, right? She works for a security fencing company. And so they're constantly pulling security data because that's a big piece of what they do. And I don't remember the numbers, but I know there is an uptick in violent crime, person to person, since COVID. And I'm just curious how much of that is like in the home. I wonder.
So most of it, the data that I've seen, and it'd be great to hear what your daughter has to say. Everything that I've seen is around, for anything in the home, is home health care.
Yeah.
And there's this huge focus on home health care. Like they're trying to pass a bill that will make it a felony if there's any type of attack on a healthcare worker, like nurses and doctors and things like that.
Wow.
So in 2020, there was 1.5 million attacks on healthcare workers with 392 deaths. So that was 2020 data, right?
Yeah.
Now, number that out of that 1.5 million, what the number is for home healthcare, I don't know. It doesn't break down in BLS. And those are just the ones that are reported, right?
Yeah.
Oh, see, yeah, Ben just says that. Right. Why wouldn't they run a background check on you, right? I want to know who you are. Like, you're coming to take care of your children, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes good sense. I don't think I ever would have thought of that. Actually, I'm positive that I never would have thought of that. There's just no way I ever would have. But it makes so much sense. Now that you're saying it, I'm like, it makes such good sense.
Thank you. Yeah. Unfortunately, we live in a world where, and I can't remember if Tom or Liz said it about COVID. COVID has made the number of attacks on workplace violence attacks go up exponentially, right? People are just a little bit more on edge. I think we're starting to see that wane off a little bit based on the statistics. But I mean, the hospitals alone are in horrible shape with the attack from patients. But COVID really made people on edge.
Yeah.
So,
escalated everything. Well, how does the pricing work, Tina?
Yeah. So right now we have 3 different tiers. It's all subscription based, so it's month to month. People can cancel at any time. So we set 1 to 25 searches. So it's by the number of searches you do, right? So 1 to 25 searches is $59.99 a month. And then 26 to 50 is $99.99 a month. And then we have enterprise package where if you're going to do more than 50 searches, we'll talk to somebody and see what the best pricing is that we can get them. But about $250 a search or less.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is. Do you have a website that we can? Oh, it's right out there. I see it. ClientGuardianInc.com.
Yep.
I dropped the link. I dropped the link in chat.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I know that I have somebody in one of my circles that had reached out to me, and I wasn't making the connection here. It was like, I love this service that we use. They use one of the realtor services, right?
Yep.
And they got it. They're like, this is an amazing service. We like to run the checks on every single one of our clients.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I mean, it's interesting if you really look at how technology has changed how we do everything and like how we run our cleaning businesses. And if you look at it like 10 years ago, even 5 years ago versus what we're doing today, I can really see this as being something it's new. It's a new concept. It's a new paradigm. And a lot of people in the cleaning industry are like, well, gee, I've been cleaning homes for a long time. I've never done this. I don't know if I really need to be doing this or not. But I can see once people really start thinking about it and understanding, the risk and the benefit, especially if you can rationalize that this is actually a marketing tool as well as a security and safety tool, that this could be common. This could be 5 years from now. This could be the norm.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever had any of your potential employees, like when you're interviewing someone, say, "Oh, I'm going to be the only one going in. I don't really feel safe doing that," right? So they don't want to go because they don't know whose house they're going into. So, I mean, it can be used as recruiting. Right. I mean, a lot of our healthcare agencies are using it for recruiting tools just to make them a little bit different. Well, they still can, right? Before everybody else in healthcare signs up.
Right.
Well, I was doing a one-on-one coaching at a business in Phoenix, and they were running into a problem where, because they still do in-home estimates for their larger homes, and they have a lot of larger homes there. And she was running into a problem where they didn't want one person, or the person didn't want to go by themselves to go do the estimate. They wanted to take somebody with them, and nobody felt comfortable going alone to do that. So same thing, right? I mean, if you're going to go do an estimate on somebody's house, then I can see how this makes perfect sense. Just like I was saying earlier, right? And it is a weird thing. You do get a false sense of security, but in the back of my mind, I know, like the odds are not with you at some point. At some point, it's like the odds are just not here, right? I need to not be messing around with this.
Yeah.
Oh, super smart. Super smart.
Thank you.
So if we want to know more about the product and how it works and how it could be used within our cleaning business, I mean, we go to your website, you've got the pricing and everything there. How does one actually sign up for your service? Can they actually buy it through your website?
Yep, they can sign up right online.
Show
So,
us. Take us there, Tina. Because another one of the things that I really liked is, dang, that was easy.
it super fast, right?
Super. I thought it was going to be one of those things where you put the person's name in, but oh wait, you did have birthday. Oh no, you had address, right? So
I
you
did.
put the address
Well,
in. Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a quick second.
Okay.
So this is the pricing page, but yes, on the data, so it's like any database, right? The more data points you have, the better your results are going to be, right?
Okay.
So imagine we're going, the entire country, we're searching their
Right.
database, right? So you can do first name, last name and get results, but I don't know what your results are going to really be,
They're going to
right?
be really wild. Yeah.
In maid service, we're most likely not going to have a date of birth, but you are going to have something else that we can pull, either an address, a phone number.
We'll have an address for sure. And a phone, usually. Maybe a
Mhm.
cell phone.
Yep, cell phone. We can pull cell phone records. They're not as accurate. Like the most accurate is first name, last name, date of birth, right?
Yeah, of
Yeah.
But
course.
you don't need it.
But if you're doing it as part of your branding, and if you're doing that to build trust with the potential client, you could ask them all
Yes.
this information. And you're going to lose some people. Some
Right.
people don't know that's weird. I don't want that, or I don't
Yeah.
want you to see what's on, my record. But for every one of those, I'm just wondering if more than one of those would sign up with you that would maybe do something else because they trust you more.
Yeah.
I really like where you go, where you've mentioned that a few times, Tom, and I like that because it really lets your client know that you care about your employees, right? You're telling them, listen, Tom, I don't know you from Adam, so I want to make sure that my people are safe. So I'm gonna check you just to make sure.
I think it's more than that. I think it's more than that. That you care about your employees. I think it is. I think for a lot of people, it could be just that's how vigilant they are. This company is so much more vigilant than
Hmm.
any other company. They take it seriously,
Yeah.
like in a big way. So
If
I don't have to worry because of that.
if you care about your employees that much, you just care and you care
Period.
about everything and you would care about my
Yeah.
service too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You really take it seriously. This isn't just a fly by night company. This is like the real deal here.
Yep.
Benja says she'd pay more, that she would look at that as a meticulous company. I agree. I think it would be worth rolling the dice on, and I mean, I don't know. It would be well. You love doing research, Tina. Maybe you could figure out, through a focus group or some way of doing some A/B testing. Maybe I have a hunch. I have a hunch that you could get higher conversion rates with customers if this was part of the package.
Yeah. Well,
This
Tom,
looks
we'll use your company to start. How's that?
Okay, well, we can have that discussion. Yeah, really. I need to.
Yeah,
You need to teach me how to be that absentee owner. I'm working on that. I am.
teach you. It honestly, you sit around and go, what am I going to do next? You have to start another software company.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of stuff going on. I don't think I am sending it over to my office right now.
Oh, thank you, Liz.
Client Guard Inc.
Yep, and I'm just going in here. So here's the order form. You just go in here, put your information in, you get signed up. And like I said, it's month to month. So if you decide you ever want to cancel or whatever, you can. One of the questions that people ask is, should I run it on everyone or just some people? And I say it's dangerous just to run it on your gut feeling,
Yeah.
right?
because I wouldn't have run it on that old guy.
No, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if you're gonna do it, you just do it on everybody, right? And
It does seem
just
smart.
make that your policy going forward.
Yeah, it does seem like the smart way to
Can
do
you
it.
believe it's the top of the hour? Can you believe that? It doesn't seem like an hour, does it, Liz? Oh, wait, it has been for so long.
No, what? An hour? No, I think we should go another 5 minutes.
Because
We have so much more stuff to talk about. I was thinking we should run a check on that guy, Tom Stewart. What's your address, Tom?
No.
That's
No
fine.
need for that. No need for that. Tina,
Yes.
Thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
us. And
Yeah.
this is my hat's off to you because this is unique and
Yeah.
innovative, and
Next level.
yeah,
Next level.
it's a concept that when you hear it the first time, it's like, yeah, I don't know. I've been doing this for a long time. I don't really know if that's necessary.
Yeah.
Keep telling the story. I think the more
Yeah.
people hear this, the more it'll start making sense.
Thank you.
And you know what's going to happen? You're going to get more stories of people that are going to say, dude, I had no idea. This guy, I put his thing in there and this is what popped up. You're going to get more and more of those stories. And I'm going to be like, I would have gone there. Dang it. No.
Mhm. I
Yeah,
know.
I don't want to. That's what's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So we're going to call it a wrap for today. Next Wednesday is Thanksgiving Eve, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
So we're all going to be doing whatever we're supposed to be doing Thanksgiving Eve. So we're not going to be, we're not going to be doing smart business moves next Wednesday, but we'll be back 2 Wednesdays from today, 5 o'clock
We should have
Eastern.
worn our turkey headpieces today, Tom, because we weren't going to be here next week.
Is Denise here?
Sure she is.
Okay, I'm sorry, Denise.
I know. Had we been thinking, Denise, I think she was the very first person on here today. Oh no, that was Michelle.
We'll get it for Christmas. We'll get it right for Christmas.
Yeah, we'll get it right. I'll be wearing mine on all my circle calls next week, so I'll make use. Yeah.
I'll just wear it to the office for the heck of it.
Yay.
You'll take care.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Talking to seeing you both.